What would you do if a stranger kept driving through your private land every single week without your permission? And what if that stranger wasn't just anyone, but a member of the HOA board who believed rules didn't apply to her? Can someone really claim authority over land they don't even own? Can an HOA bully you off your own property? And if no one stops them, should you? Because in this story, I didn't just stop her. I made sure she'd never forget the day she messed with the wrong rancher. No, I didn't break the law. But what I did, let's just say it made Karen scream, the HOA panic, and the sheriff laugh. You want to know how I turned her shortcut into a war zone? Keep watching, because this wasn't just revenge. It was a tactical lesson in poetic justice. My name's Jack, retired Navy, bought this 12-acre ranch just outside of town to escape the chaos of city life. I wanted peace, animals, fresh air, and no nosy neighbors. Unfortunately, peace didn't last long. Within a month of moving in, I noticed tire tracks through the back trail of my ranch. I don't mean some wildlife trail, I mean my gated gravel road that cuts through the southern pasture. Private, posted locked. The first time I saw a red SUV blaze past my barn like she owned the place, I nearly dropped my feed bucket. I caught up to her at the main road. Blonde, mid-50s, oversized sunglasses, rolled her window down just a crack. "Ma'am," I said, "this is private land. That gate isn't for public use." She smirked. "Well, maybe you shouldn't leave it open." Except I didn't. She unlatched it. I thought maybe that was it. A one-time stunt, until I came home the next week and found tire ruts again. This time she'd cut across the west trail too. So I waited. 3 days later, there she was. Windows down, blasting country pop, driving like she was in a parade. I stood right in her path. She honked. I didn't move. She veered around me, tossed her hand up with a dismissive wave, and said, "I'm on the HOA board, sweetheart. Roads are community shared spaces. The audacity." What community? My property is outside the HOA lines. I verified it before I even bought the land, but that didn't stop her. That was just the beginning. I installed a new lock on the gate. 2 days later, it was gone. Cut clean through. So I replaced it with a thicker one. This time I added a chain camera. Caught her red-handed. Still daylight. She pulled up, got out in heels, clipped the chain with bolt cutters, looked directly at the camera, and smiled, then drove straight through. I sent the footage to the HOA. Their reply: "We'll investigate. But access roads are not enforceable if considered part of community easement." What easement? My property deed was crystal clear. Next thing I knew, I got a warning citation taped to my front door. Violation, obstruction of shared pathway. I called the HOA president, a nervous guy named Ron. He said, "Look, Jack, Karen says your back road is connected to a historical trail, and technically she's not the only one using it." I checked. No trail. No public map reference. Just Karen's imagination. But things got weirder. The next week, my mailbox was smashed. My fence gate left wide open, twice. My livestock scared out of their pens. And then came the fine, $900, for unauthorized obstruction of multi-resident easement. I refused to pay. They threatened to lien my property, even though I was legally not in the HOA jurisdiction. One night I found Karen's SUV parked on my lawn, not even passing through anymore. Just there, engine running, music blasting. I called the sheriff. He shrugged. Said, "These HOA disputes get tricky." That was the last straw. I knew I couldn't win playing fair. So I decided, if she wants to trespass, fine, let's see how she handles what I plant next. I got creative. First, I built a fake landmine warning zone sign, large, official-looking, weatherproofed. Caution. Subsurface training devices present explosive risk. Below it, U.S. military testing grounds, authorized entry only. Then I went full theatrical. I bought old plastic mine casings from a military surplus store, buried them just beneath the dirt along the trail, only shallow enough for their tops to poke up slightly in dry weather. Next, I ran a few harmless but dramatic-looking cables along the ground, hooked to absolutely nothing. But they looked serious. Then I recorded a 2-minute video. Me dressed in camo, holding a clipboard, walking the trail, pointing out inactive ordnance zones, and talking into a fake comms device like I was inspecting for the base, uploaded it to YouTube, unlisted, and then sent the link anonymously to the HOA board with the subject, "Concerned citizen footage of dangerous activity near community." Then I left the gate wide open. Bait. 3 days later, I heard tires screeching, a scream, and the sound of someone trying to reverse on gravel. Karen had driven right up to one of the fake mines, jumped out, and ran. Full panic. She called the sheriff. They came. I walked them through the trail, calm, polite, and with a legal document showing my land was 100% private. The deputy asked, "Are those real?" I smiled. "Nope, but they did their job." Karen stopped driving through my ranch. But I wasn't done. I had one final move. I filed a formal cease and desist against Karen and the HOA, sent it certified, attached all the footage, timestamps, photos of the fake mines, GPS maps, and a notarized surveyor's report. And then I went one level higher, the county zoning commission. Turns out not only was Karen wrong, but the HOA had overstepped their authority by issuing citations outside their jurisdiction. The county hit them with a formal reprimand and a fine for improper claims. Karen was removed from the HOA board. But the best part? A few neighbors started questioning everything. One of them, a quiet woman named Jill, found out that Karen had been bullying multiple residents into giving her shortcut access through their land. And when I shared my landmine video on a community forum, it went semi-viral. They started calling me Rambo Rancher. Karen sold her house 2 months later, disappeared overnight, and the final cherry on top. The HOA had to pay me $3,200 in legal and administrative reimbursements. The same people who once said, "I couldn't own that much land," were now calling to apologize. Poetic, isn't it? They say fences make good neighbors. But sometimes you need landmines. Fake ones, of course. This wasn't just about a Karen with a shortcut obsession. It was about people who think rules don't apply to them until you remind them why they exist. I didn't fight her with rage. I fought her with creativity, strategy, and a touch of military-grade mischief. And the best part? I never laid a hand on her. Just let her imagine what could happen if she kept pushing. Let that be a lesson. When dealing with entitled bullies, sometimes it's not about escalation. It's about presentation. So if you've ever been pushed around by an HOA, a neighbor, or someone who thinks they're above the rules, ask yourself, what's your landmine? Comment below, justice served if you made it to the end. Or tell me, what would you have done if someone kept trespassing on your land? And hey, don't worry. No Karens were harmed in the making of this story. Just mildly traumatized. See you in the next one. Stay clever, stay calm, and guard your gates.